I'm Judith Maria and welcome to SG Global News. From the shocking testimonies of witnesses to the murder of a Catholic priest in Myanmar to the Trump's initiative to include American Catholics in the National Garden of American Heroes project, we have many stories to cover. Shocking details have surfaced regarding the murder of a Catholic priest in Myanmar. Eyewitnesses shared that Father Donald Martin was stabbed multiple times in body and neck, and he endured the violence like a lamb to the slaughter. New details have emerged regarding the death of Father Donald Martin Yanangwing, as women who were present during the fatal attack on the priest in Myanmar have shared more information. Father Donald Martin was killed by a group of armed men on February 14th in the rectory of Our Lady of Lourdes Church in the village of Kangitau. According to witnesses, the attackers reportedly threatened and silenced two women, teachers and parish workers who were on the church premises assisting Father Donald in organizing class for the children of the parish's approximately 40 families. Fides, the information service of the Pontifical Mission Societies, reported that it received the women's testimony after it was passed on to the Ministry of Justice of the National Unity Government in exile. The attackers came from the neighboring village who commanded Father Donald to kneel. Father Donald Martin responded by saying that he only kneeled before God. One of the men responded by striking the priest down from behind with the dagger that was still in the sheath, but he accidentally hit the leader of the armed group, who in turn pulled out the knife and angrily attacked the priest repeatedly, stabbing him on the body and neck. According to the news agency, Father Donald did not utter a word of complaint. He endured the senseless violence without reacting, like an innocent man, like a lamb to the slaughter, as the witnesses report. The repeated blows to the throat almost severed the head from the body. As the woman raised alarm, People's Defense Force, the rebel group that controls the area, tracked the men down. As prayers for the Holy Father's recovery continue, members of his medical team shared in a press conference that while the Pope is not in immediate danger of death, he is still not out of danger and will remain hospitalized for at least another week. As the world prays for Pope Francis' recovery, members of his medical team held a press conference at Rome's Gemelli Hospital, stating that Pope is not in danger of death, but also he is not yet out of danger and will remain hospitalized for at least another week. Dr. Sergio Alfieri, the head of team caring for Pope, emphasized that although Pope is not in the ventilator, he is still struggling with his breathing, which has limited his physical movement considering his fragile condition and age. When asked about their greatest concern, the doctors noted that there is a risk of germs from the Pope's respiratory tract entering his bloodstream, potentially leading to sepsis. Despite this, the pontiff is still sitting upright in a chair, working and jogging as usual. Dr. Alfieri also mentioned that Pope will eventually leave the hospital and return to Casa Santa Marta in Vatican, although his chronic respiratory issues will remain. Prayers for the Holy Father's recovery continue, and Saturday marks the 9th day since Pope was admitted to the Agostino Gemelli Polyclinic Hospital. As Hamas's mix-up of the remains of 32-year-old Shiri Bibas angers the Israeli public, more stories about the last days of her children are slowly coming to light. A detailed forensic report shows that Hamas did not even spare the young siblings from suffering, as the bruises found on the boy's neck indicate that children were strangled to death.
As controversies surrounding the release of Bibas' family bodies show no signs of abating, details surrounding the nature of the siblings' deaths are now slowly emerging. An Israeli Defense Force spokesman announced that the boys were killed with their bare hands, rejecting Hamas's claim that the family perished in an Israeli airstrike. In a Hebrew language segment televised exclusively on Israeli television, Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari emphasized that the boys were not executed with a single shot, but were subjected to hours of physical torture, eventually being strangled by one of the captors. Hagari mentioned that the forensic experts at the Abu Kabir Forensic Institute traced evidence of Hamas captors trying to cover up the abuses the infants had suffered by putting a single bullet into each child's head to make it appear they were executed. He also revealed that the boys were killed approximately a month after their kidnapping on October 7, 2023, and forensic experts determined that the bodies had been stored in a cold storage unit. At the end of the speech, Hagari also outlined the details of his conversation with the heartbroken father of the martyred siblings Yarden and said that he wants the entire world to know the brutal manner in which his kids were killed. Yarden was also kidnapped along with his family by Hamas militants when they raided their home in Rose. He was released a month later as part of a hostage deal brokered by the then U.S. President Joe Biden.
Heartbreak struck the residents of Neros as the body of 32-year-old Shri Vibas was placed in the town's community center for public viewing one last time. The news of the discovery of Shri's body brings closure to the painful cycle faced by Yarden, who has yet to recover from the grief of hearing about the death of his infant sons. Kibbutz Nir Oz, the community where Bibis' family was taken, started Saturday morning with deep sorrow as the body of 32-year-old Shiri Bibis was returned to her family home after forensic experts determined that the remains were Shiri's on Friday night. The body of Shiri was released on Friday night by Hamas militants after being lambasted by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for mixing up Shiri's remains with those of an unknown Gazan woman and releasing them as Shiri's body on Thursday along with her children's bodies. Israeli forensic officials who assessed the body after it was handed over by the Red Cross affirmed that remains belonged to Shiri and determined that she was brutally murdered alongside her children a month after the kidnapping. Forensic experts also assessed that Shiri was subjected to brutal torture by her captors and discovered bruises around her neck, indicating the cause of her death was asphyxiation. After the assessment, her body was transported to Nir Oz, where her neighbors, with whom she had lived for about 5 years, lined up to see her one last time. Meanwhile, Hamas is handing over the last set of hostages that the warring sides agreed to release before the completion of the first phase of ceasefire deal. In an attempt to make America great again, President Donald Trump has made several changes to the administration from day one. Recently, he proposed including several American Catholics, African American figures, and other political, cultural, and sports icons to the National Garden of American Heroes project. President Donald Trump is on his way to fulfilling his promise of making America great again. The National Garden of American Heroes project was introduced during Trump's first term and was revived after his inauguration last month. The garden will feature statues of dozens of renowned American Catholics, including several saints and popular figures such as late basketball player Kobe Bryant. During a Black History Month event at the White House on Thursday, Trump pledged to honor several African American figures in the proposed garden, with the final location currently being decided. The initial list of honorees announced during Trump's previous term includes Catholic saints like Saint John Newman, Saint Catherine Drexel, and Saint Elizabeth Ann Seton, along with individuals whose sainthood causes are ongoing: Venerable Fulton Sheen, Venerable Augustus Talton, and Servant of God Dorothy Day. Among the political figures on the list include John F. Kennedy, America's first Catholic president, Antonin Scalia, a longtime Supreme Court justice, 20th century playwright and Congresswoman Claire Booth Luce, and many other cultural and sports icons. The original executive order, issued on January 18, 2021, in the final days of his previous term, outlined plans for the National Garden of American Heroes. The goal of the garden is to provide a space where citizens can renew their visions of greatness by learning the stories of selected American heroes through their statues and legacies. That's all for today. Until we meet again, God bless and thank you.